Hello everyone and welcome back to the Dealer Chat podcast with David Gott of the Lovely Car Company, James of CG Car Sales, better known as Chops Garage, myself, Joe Betty at Brewer Motors, and today our very special guest is the original wheeler dealer, Mr. Mike Brewer, star of your TV screens, we all know and love him, and amazingly also the kind of founder and owner of One Automotive, his car garage that he's dealing with now as well. So yeah, it's amazing. We've heard that through the grapevine that Mike's watched these podcasts before. It's quite exciting for us, so it's amazing to have him on. And yeah, it'd be great to sort of talk shop with you as the original wheeler dealer. So thank you so much for coming on, Mike.
It's an absolute pleasure. Now, I've been following Shifting Metal for, well, I think as long as you've had your YouTube channel. And yeah, I very much follow everything to do with the motor trade in terms of your podcast as well. And I very much enjoy it. You know, we get an insight and it almost normalises me because I face exactly the same problems with my dealerships that you face, and I think I'm not going mad. It is happening to everyone, you know, tricky customers, bounce back cars, finance companies pulling the rug from under your feet. It's the same things that happen to you, happen to me, and it normalises me.
So that's kind of like the biggest thing we hear from everyone else who comes on, or anyone I speak to about having done the YouTube channel, is I'm surprised how many people are fans from within the trade. I would have thought they all thought I was an idiot and doing it wrong. And also just it's because we all are just sharing what actually happens in the motor trade. And I think we tend to just, I guess most car dealers, you just deal with it and the public don't know, do they? But having that, a bit of a community, I guess, like, you know, like exactly like you say, that the finance companies are doing the same things to you, the customers are saying the same things, trying the same tricks and whatever.
It sort of makes can I say an expletive on your podcast?
Go on.
A tiny
Please
expletive.
do.
It makes my piss boil. It really does, because I've been a motor trader since I can remember. You know, I started buying and selling cars when I was 16 years of age, and I'm still doing it today, and I'm in my 60s. It makes my piss boil that we get cast with this brush. You know, the motor trade gets painted and tarred with a brush that we're, you know, held in the same light as estate agents. And I know estate agents, they're really good people. And I know hundreds of car dealers, and they're really nice people. But we get tarred with this brush that we're sharks and we're out to rob people and we're deviant and we sell dodgy cars. And I created my award ceremony, which is the Car Dealer Awards. I created that with Michelle 12 years ago now for that very reason, to overcome that stigma and to celebrate everything that's great about the used car trade. And I feel like, I want you to take me to heart here, and I'm saying this with my tongue in my cheek, but I want to be the champion. I have got a voice, and I am heard. You know, I get written about, and I want to be the champion for the used car dealer, because I'm just sick to death of it. I've worked so hard at it, and I know so many people have worked so hard at it, and almost every single car dealer I know, particularly in the last 20 years, since we've had the advent of the internet and reviews, everything is just 100%, you know, they're all good people. Everyone I know is a good person. It's very hard to find a bad car dealer these days, but we still get, you know, tarred with the Arthur Daly brush, and I hate it.
100% agree. 100% agree. It's so strange that we've got the Consumer Rights Act in place. Like I say, you've got your reviews in place. You speak to any dealer, they're paying hand over fist for warranty claims, for repairs to be done, for prep. And you're just trying to run a decent business and put decent cars at a door. And like you say, and everybody comes with this preconception that somehow you're out to rob them. And I say all the time, you go through any town, and there'll be car dealerships that have gone from generation to generation. And that doesn't happen because you're trying to stiff people all the time. How are they there? You know, if every car was being stiffed, those places would be gone. They'd be gone in months, wouldn't they? Especially, like you say, in this day and age when it's so easy to get out there and shout about bad service. So same thing here. Boils my piss just as much as well, that you put as much graft into it and you're still tied with that brush.
You can't go and buy a cup of coffee on the high street today without somebody reading a review of that coffee shop. You know, we are the most reviewed business, I think, in the country. You know, every single car that gets sold, we plead with our customers to please leave a review. Tell people about your experience, because our business survives and thrives off our reviews. They're 100% positive, and Mike Brewer Motors up in Sheffield, it's 100% positive. But still, you know, when people read the reviews, like yesterday, somebody came onto the car site and he's looking at a 7-year-old motorhome, drives it up the road, and it's noisy. You know, motorhomes are noisy. They're wooden melamine boxes put in the back of a big old van, aren't they? That's what they are. And, as you go down the road and you go over a speed bump, of course you can hear plates rattle and furniture move around in the back. But there's something wrong with this. It's been in an accident. It's you can hear it making noises in the back. And I knew from that moment, I thought, this guy's never ever going to buy a motorhome. You can't. You can't go with that preconception that the first thing you're going to see is dodgy. It's not dodgy. It's a motorhome. It irritates me that he's come with that preconception and he's already got that in his head before he got to the door. And here we are. I've invested millions into the business. I've created jobs for people. I pay my tax on point and on time. I'm contributing to the local community by sponsoring things in the local community. And here we are trying to do the right thing. And somebody arrives with a preconception that they're on their way to go and see something dodgy. And that's what gets me.
Do you not think it's good that we can reply to the reviews now, though? Like,
it's brilliant.
It gives you so much more power, doesn't it?
I love a reply. I love an open reply. My first open replies are always, and I've seen this with Joe on his YouTube. When somebody buys a car, takes it away, and within 3 weeks of owning it, a light bulb goes. I don't know. They get a puncture. It's something that can happen on a machine, and it goes. And rather than come back, pick up the phone and say, my light bulb's blown, or, my electric window's not working, or whatever it is, they will turn to the internet first and go to the internet first. And as I say in my replies to these people, I never built the car. I just sold you the car. I never built it. It's not my fault. If you want to moan about the electric window not working, phone BMW or phone Ford and tell them that car that they made, the window doesn't work. I'll fix the window, but give me the chance to fix the window first. But don't go online and complain that I've sold you something that's broken. I never built it. Somebody else built it.
It's almost like when they turn up, their job is to catch you out, isn't it? Before they get here, their job is to turn up and catch you out and find out what is dodgy about your motor. They look around your car, and I do take a little bit of offence to it sometimes, the way they look around it and they're pulling it apart. I think, well, if that's a private sale, fair enough, because you drive off, you got zero comeback. But like you said, if in 3 months' time something goes wrong with that, I'm going to have to fix it anyway. So you don't need to pull my car apart.
I'm all for consumers doing the right thing. Consumers should be armed and they should be forewarned and they should be full of information. They should fill their library before they fill their garage. They should come to us and make sure that they're making the right decision when they buy a car. But that decision process doesn't have to start on the back foot of thinking I'm on my way to go and buy something dodgy off a dodgy person, so I'm going with that mindset. And that's the bit that I'm trying to, hopefully, with this podcast, hopefully we can turn a switch with the public. We can overturn the thought process and think, well, actually, we're no different than somebody selling a loaf of bread in a corner shop, are we? We're exactly the same. We buy a commodity for a price, we put a small profit on it, we present it well, we pay our rent, rates, lights, electricity and our staff, and we sell it, hopefully, within the 30 days that we've got to sell it before the price drops in the in the guides. And we've got that 30 days to sell it in the hope that we can make enough money to pay all our bills and continue with our business. Sorry, I'm going off here. I keep saying the motor trade is the most bizarre business in the world. I say to customers, I say, look, if I walked into the Dragon's Den and I walked in staring at that stack of cash that they've got sat beside them, and I walked in and I said, I've got a great idea, guys. Listen to it, you're going to love this. Okay, I'm going to buy a commodity and I'm governed by a guide that comes out once a month, and the guide is continuously depreciating. So I'm going to buy a commodity with your money and I've got 30 days to present it, market it, clean it, find a customer for it, sell it. I've got 30 days before the price drops. How do you fancy investing in a company like that? Oh, and by the way, once I've sold the car, once I've sold it, that person I've sold it to has got 6 months to bring that car back if they can prove that the time I sold it to them, it had something wrong with them. So how do you want to invest in that, Dragons? They'd laugh you out of the room. They would kick you in the arse and say, get out of here. But that's what we do. That's exactly what we do.
Yeah, I can't tell you what the margin's going to be, what the profit's going to be, because I'm not going to know that for 6 months, because I'm on the hook for it. Or if I did it on finance, 5 years, maybe. Yeah,
So
and the other thing is with it is most people, like I know Dave says this, most people are doing these businesses because they want to actually build something that they can then hand on to family. And then I'm not looking for a quick fix. They're looking for something they can build up that has a good reputation, that has repeat business, that they can then hand on down to family members. So, I think there's very few people in it, I don't, like we said earlier, that are in it just for a quick fix, for a quick buck either.
Yeah. We're in for the long run. Like where the pitch I have has been a car pitch since 1961, something like that. It's still going. I'm running it now, and hopefully I'm going to buy it, and then hopefully I can keep it in my family. So we're going to be here for the foreseeable future, aren't we? And the great thing about YouTube and that, I think it is changing people's perceptions of car dealers because of like what Joe's doing with this. So many people watch this and then they're like, oh God, I didn't realise.
Yeah.
Car dealers, what you have to put up with. Like, I'd never become a car dealer. Why would you even do it? So
I didn't realise you had to pay VAT and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's it. It's a commercial enterprise. But...
And after the budget, after the budget yesterday as well, we've just been squeezed that little bit more, haven't we? All of us car dealers, now we got to pay national insurance contributions from £5,000 instead of £9,000, and it's gone up 1.2%. I phoned my business partner James yesterday, and we've got 6 staff in one automotive. I've got 6 staff at Mike Brewer Motors. At one point, I had over 100 staff. And I said to James yesterday, what did you think of the budget? And he went, I haven't had a chance to look through it. What does it mean to us? And I said, it probably means to us about another 5 cars a year we have to sell and give to the government. That's what it means.
Well, I was going to say, I just found it interesting with you getting into the motor trade again, because when we talk about reviews, you must just be in the firing line for anybody to go on. My only negative review is I was too far away from the guy for him to come and get a car from me. Somehow that's my fault. But yeah, you must be putting yourself right in the firing line for any squeak, rattle, knock, slight rudeness on the forecourt. It must be a nightmare, isn't it? Why would you put yourself in the firing line again for all that?
Well, it gets worse than that. We get 1-star Google reviews saying, I'd never buy a car from this company. It's, how would anyone buy a car from this company? They've never been. And they're going, I don't like him. I watch him on the TV and I don't like him. So I'd never buy a car from his company. They've never been to my business. They've never met my staff. They've never met seen any of my cars. And yet they feel that they've got the right to go online because they don't like something that I did on television and review a business. And I face it all the time. But the reason when you say go back into the motor trade, I always find that really funny that people say that. I've never left. I started in the motor trade when I was 16 years of age in South London. I worked at garages, worked at my dad's. From when I was 8, I worked at my dad's. And then at 16 years of age, I went to work in the print. I was working for Motor Magazine. At 17 years of age, all I wanted to do was be in a car with 4 seats so I could get a girl in the back. That's all I wanted, like most young men. So that meant I needed a car. And the only way to get a car was to trade my way up from a humble little Mini. You can have no fun in a Mini. Trade my way up from a Mini into something that was bigger, and that bigger was a Morris Marina, boys, 1.8 Morris Marina Coupe. Oh, what a car. But it had a great back seat, that car, an amazing back seat. So I traded my way up to one of them and then realised that during that trade, I'd actually earned more money than my parents in one deal that they earned in a month. So I thought, well, actually, I'm quite good at this. I'm going to do it again. So I started off buying and selling cars, very quickly got plucked into working at a big dealership in South London. I worked at the dealership diligently for a few years before I ended up taking more or less control over it. At 20 years of age, I was running this big dealership. Then we set up several other dealerships in London, of which I took control over and started to run them. And it was about when I was met my wife Michelle. I was 26 years of age. I was doing very well, and decided that's enough of making other people wealthy, car dealers wealthy. It's about time I did something for myself. So me and Michelle set up our own business, which basically was me taking a share of somebody else's site. So a site that's got 60 cars on it, I managed to negotiate 20 spaces, then 30 spaces, then 40. As the stock built up and as I worked more diligently at it. And it was around then that I got plucked out of obscurity to appear on Channel 4 on Deals and Wheels. That was back in 1997. But I still had that car site for a while. That still run for about 2 years whilst my new TV career was taking off. And then there was this hiatus of television, which was about 10 years. But during those 10 years of me not having a physical car site and working on television, doing Driven on Channel 4 and Deals and Wheels on Channel 4 and then on to Wheeler Dealers on Discovery, I never ever stopped buying and selling cars. I was still buying and selling cars on my driveway at home. I was still obsessed with the motor trade and what it could bring me. So it wasn't long after the success of the TV career, it wasn't that long after, I think I just wore Michelle down. And Michelle said to me once back in 2000, and I think it must have been 2009, she said to me, will you just shut up and go back in the motor trade? And I said, right, you said it, your words at your mouth. And I went and found a big car site in Sheffield. Why Sheffield is another story. But I found this big car site in Sheffield, set up Mike Brewer Motors, and month 2, we were selling 250 cars by month 2, a month.
I live in Sheffield, and I was there when you opened up that first site, and
that was amazing.
Mate, you had them piled up, the cars, you couldn't move, could you? And is that why you moved to the bigger site then? Was it too small for you, that first one?
Very quickly. We never expected it to go the way it went. So very quickly it went from, I think when it was Lamb Toyotas, the most they ever got out that site was say 90. I think that was the most they could ever get out that site. Within the first month, I think we'd done 150. By month 2, we're up to 250, and that was it. It's viscous meniscus. You couldn't squeeze any more in, out and through the system than that. And it become a real problem for us. It actually stopped being about sales. It started to be about logistics, and the business was all about management of cars, people, movement, money. And it wasn't about, we knew the cars would sell. They're all 9-month-old, Seat IB for 1.2s or, Volkswagen Golf, whatever, Mark 6 Volkswagen Golf. So the stock was always good. It was always very young stock with good mileage. But it was the flow, getting them through the system, that becomes such a problem. We grew out the site with it by month 2, but we managed to hold on to the site for 2 years whilst we were trying to find a solution or work through the solution. But yeah, that's why fundamentally we moved over to the bigger site, which is 65,000 square foot inside space and about 2 acres outside space. And that now is an operation that's still 250, 350 cars every month and employs a lot more people. And obviously we've got more space to move cars through the system. So yeah, that become a problem. In fact, another way to overcome that problem is I bought BMW in Luton, beautiful building, and it was a gorgeous BMW gym palace that they'd built with chrome and marble and everything else. We put Mike Brewer Motors, we extended Mike Brewer Motors into that site purely because of servicing the southern regions. A lot of people coming out of London to buy Mike Brewer Motors up in Sheffield, and we thought, well, we could service the southern regions by being outside the M25, but also in the, London Luton. If you listen to the airlines, it's London Luton. We could be in that catchment area. So we moved into Luton, and we had exactly the same problems, identical problems again. Nice big site. It held 130 cars in stock. We started to sell 200 cars a month, and we simply couldn't make it work again. And then we ended up being back in logistics control, where we're just moving vehicles up and down the country on the back of 14 cars a time on the back of lorries, going up and down the country, spending a fortune doing that rather than actually concentrating on selling cars in the business. The cars were just selling themselves, but we could have sold more if we concentrated. But it was more about logistics. So we had another site, a 3-acre site in Houghton Regis, to try and cope with the overflow. And then COVID happened. And when COVID happened, we immediately switched the business round to a click and collect business, realised that we didn't need all of this. We don't need this whole infrastructure, and we worked out it's actually cheaper to deliver a car anywhere in mainland UK by transportation company than it is to have a physical space, as in the space at Luton and Houghton Regis. I managed to sell the site very quickly, got rid of Houghton Regis, which I was renting, consolidated back to the biggest site in Sheffield, which left a hole in my life down here, where I live in Warwickshire, and that's where I'm still now driving my wife mad. She went, go and do it again. So I started up One Automotive.
Clearly been twiddling your thumbs in the industry then, Mike.
Yeah, and I've been making international television shows around the world, living in California for 6 years. At the same time, I've been doing all of this stuff at the same time, patron of charities and writing books and whatever. But I'm a workaholic. I've never stopped working, and I think that's part of the success. That I just get my head down and it's a car dealer's attitude. We get our head down and we just get on with it. Chops and David, I don't know you as much as I followed Joe, but Joe works like he's nuts off, doesn't he? Every time I switch on my computer, Joe's there, either kicking tyres down at the auction, doing videos, turning up for work, running through the car site, working out what stock he's got. That's us. That's head down, get on with it.
You make me feel lazy, Mike, to be honest.
Hey, Mike, look at that there, see? Back seat. Morris
What is it?
Same as the Marina, isn't it?
It's an Ital. I bought an Ital down at Dingwall's car auctions. I turned up in a Mark 1 Golf GTI, didn't want to sell it. It was a bit of retail stock. Stood outside Dingwall car auctions. Fucking hell, this would be 1994, something like that. Stood outside the auctions, and two dealers that I know, Morris and they were Italian, Morris and I think Tony, his name was, or Antonio. They begged me to sell them the Golf, and I didn't want to sell it to him. Please, please, please. They stood outside, opened up a carrier bag full of cash. So I went, oh, sod it. So I traded them the Golf, had a carrier bag full of cash. Thought to myself, how am I going to get home from here? I'm at the auction, stuck now, no car and a carrier bag full of cash. Walked into Dingwall's and put my hands up for a blue Morris Ital 1.8L with 1 week's MOT on it, 1 week's road tax, and I give £18 for it.
Jesus.
And I remember booking that car out. I give 18 quid. I remember booking the car out, and the girl said to me, what's her name? And I went, what's his name? Wayne Bruce. And she said, address? And I went, Gotham City. And she looked up at me from behind the glass plate, and she went, name? And I said, Wayne Bruce. What address? I went, Gotham City, write it down. She went, no, I need your real name and address. I said, no, I'm Wayne Bruce from Gotham City. Just write that down. Gotham City Garage. So she wrote that down on a piece of paper. I had a logbook, an MOT, the 1 week's road tax left on the screen, and I drove back to where I was in Croydon. I left genuinely outside the Fairfield Halls in Croydon. I put the logbook, MOT, and the key on the seat and walked home. I left it there. It was cheaper than getting a cab. It was 18 quid.
Brilliant, love it.
You wouldn't get away with it these days. They'd be chasing you
True
through your
story, that
non-tax
is.
and whatever.
It'd be great to track down whoever got hold of that car.
Yeah, someone out there's got it somewhere.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? It might be painted gold and it's sitting in your showroom.
I've got a blue velour interior for it, so maybe it was blue at one point.
Mike, you're obviously an entrepreneur through and through. That's probably why you can't sort of stop doing what you do. Shouldn't you just relish Like a challenge, a problem to solve.
I'll be honest with you. I like people. You know, I just like people. What people often ask me, why are you doing this? Why? The last thing I need to do is go, throw myself at one automotive and go back in the trade again. I could happily retire. I don't need to. I don't want to sound facetious to the audience, but I've done very well, and I have been an entrepreneur all my life, and I have invested in a property portfolio and all the rest of it, and a good pension. So I don't need to do this. I don't need to work. But there is this hole that's always sort of missing in my life, and it's people. And I just love being around people. I love my live shows that I do at the weekend, the big events. But there's nothing better than the thrill of being in the dealership and dealing with customers that genuinely want to buy a vehicle. I sold one the other day. I said to James, my business partner, the other day, there was a moment the other day that you could take every negative moment I've had over the last year and it was gone in just 1 second when I sold this couple of car. And as I walked away from shaking his hand, saying, yeah, mate, you got yourself a deal, I'll just get the paperwork ready. As I walked away, in the glass reflection, I could see him and his girlfriend high-five each other. And that moment almost brought a tear to my eye. And it was like, I've made that, they are so happy. I've made that couple so happy, and I'm happy. I got them a great deal, but they have got the car of their dreams, and that's the moment where everything else just disappears. And you go, that's why I'm doing this. I love it. I love it for that reason. I just can't stop being around people. That's what it is.
And what about employing people as well, Mike? Do you enjoy having a team around you?
I'm very much, I'd like the people that are around me to say positive things, because I'm saying it for myself here, but I'm very much a team leader. I like to take, I'm not saying I'm a control freak. I don't go into any situation thinking I know more than anybody else. I don't walk in and go, you're doing it that way because I know it better than you. That's not true. What I do is, I've just taken on a new dealer principle. And the reason I have is because I want to surround myself with people cleverer than me. He knows the motor trade much better than I do. He's a much smarter man than I am. I've got the entrepreneurial nous to create the business. But if I can employ people within that business smarter and cleverer than me, then the business is going to win and succeed. And we'll be able to pay everyone's wages. And that's proved right. He started 2 weeks ago and we've sold 18 vehicles under his stewardship in 2 weeks. That decision proved right. So yeah, I like to take control. I do like a team around me. I do, the team do listen, that I come with a sense of authority. It's my money at the end of the day. And I do come with a sense of authority. And I'm very much I don't know how you run your businesses, but I'm a very much process-driven car dealer. So I have a strict process that we follow. Everything that comes in goes through my process system of how we check them, how we rate them, detailing, valeting, detailing, advertising, how to deal with a customer, the process of that, how to do after sales. It's all written down so I make it almost idiot proof for the staff to follow my process. And I say, if you follow my process, it will work. Trust me, it will work. And it does. But they can change that. They can adapt and change it. I'm not saying that I'm right. They might be better than me. But yeah, it does work.
Can I get a copy of that, Mike? Of the
I
Bible?
was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, of course you can. I was going to say, it's just being diligent with the stock. We're only as good, and it's worth the audience knowing this, we're only as good, and I watch you do it all the time, Joe, as the cars that we buy. It's the selling the cars is always going to happen. People always want cars, and that's always going to happen. But the process starts the moment you buy something or go to buy something. And it's how you buy a car in the first place dictates what happens to your business thereafter. So it's about, from that moment, from the conception of why are you buying this car, and you do it correctly, Joe, when you're looking at your the retail rating for Auto Trader. Is it worth putting a car that's got a 2-point retail rating in stock. Now, of course it's not. It's going to sit there forever. You're going to wear it like a coat. And you'll be staring at that thing getting mould, growing grass in the windowsills. You know, that's what you'll be doing. But if you, like I see the other day, what was it? A Tucson going through the auction with you, and it had a retail rate of 98. Then you know that in your inbuilt process in your head, you know I have to have that car. It sits in my stock, in my postcode. It's got a 98% retail rating. That car's going to sit in stock for less than a week. You know, if I can get that car back through my system of preparation process, make sure it's got, you know, I make sure that they've got MOT, screen wash. If it's got a bullet hole in the windscreen and it's in the white pad, change it. Do it before it goes for sale. Get all this stuff done before we advertise it for sale, because what we want is the customer to walk in the door, pay for it and drive it away. That's what I want. That's how the business works, because it needs to be immediate. And so follow the process, get them through the system, get them advertised, knowing full well that as soon as somebody arrives, they have got the ability to take that car away immediately. And I mean, that's how you win.
That's interesting to hear, Mike, because we've had this discussion on a number of these podcasts about buying stock from auctions and bringing it back, throwing a bucket over it and taking photos and putting it up for sale straight away versus putting it in the corner, getting it through the process, then doing the whole walk around video photos, and when they come, they can take it away straight away. There's this fight between I put the money into it and let's make it sure everybody knows it's available straight away versus it's going to be a week or so before that's actually ready to put up for sale. So it's interesting to hear you say that you fully prep.
Well, because it's inevitably going to get done anyway. You know, this is my mindset, and with the way that I want to run my business is I say to my staff, it's inevitably going to get done anyway. So if I throw a bucket of water over it, take some pictures and stare it on the car site in the hope somebody's going to buy it, and when they do, then I'll run it through the system of PDI, you know, MOT, changing the tyre, filling the screen wash, whatever it is. If I'm going to do that after, it bottles up my because we're selling so many cars, it gums up the system. Where if I get it done beforehand, because I know beforehand, it's done. So when a customer turns up and they open up the bonnet and pull a dipstick out, well, it's got fresh oil, it's got screen wash, there's no bullet holes in the windscreen, it's got 4 new wheels and tyres on it. Most of my vans do, and my vehicles do. They are in a position right there and then. I can pressurise them, and I don't, but we can pressurise them to say, do you want to take the car immediately? Do you want to take it away straight away? Because you can take it away straight away. And I would rather my business flowed like that. I can't sell a space occupied by a deposited car. I can't sell that space. I've only got a set number of spaces, and I need that space to be selling me cars constantly. So get them in, get them sold, get it gone, fill the space with another prepared car. That's the way it works.
You've got the utopia that I always say that I want to get to, because we got like a prep after kind of, not prep after, but some stuff will get done after. And I don't know, it's interesting because hearing it from you, Mike, and I've heard it from other people who have been really successful with car sales, and the majority of them have got this prep in advance. Even James, who you know obviously from Car Dealer Mag with Clever Car Collection, he's doing it all in advance, and he will do all the research. When he spoke to Auto Trader, and they said even your advert will take a while to recover if you don't have good pictures to start off with, and then you add pictures later. The algorithm doesn't reward you. But it's interesting because how do you find?
Just change it, Joe.
What's that?
Just change your mindset, Joe.
Yeah.
Just change your mindset. Change it and just change your process. Go back to the business and say, do you know what? I mean, at the end of the day, what does it cost? It's going to cost the same as it does at the other end. It's the same amount of cost, but you're just doing it first.
You know
That's all you're doing.
You'll know, obviously, Jamie Capel as well. I went and visited Jamie.
Well. Great dealer.
He's a great guy, yeah.
Great car dealer.
And we were having that same discussion. We were facing the same problem. He's got 300 cars. I've maybe got 30, 40. But we had everything was the same, but just on a different scale. and we were both talking about wanting to prep in advance, and he sort of said something that made me think about, there's more benefits as well, because he's saying if he's got a car there and he knows it needs a wing mirror cover and he preps it in advance, he could order one from eBay and he can wait a few days while they're sorting out the wheels and they're sorting this. Whereas if he hasn't, he's got a customer who's turned up and they're desperate for that car. His only option is to pay 500 quid from the main dealer, and he's spending more money prepping in a hurry than he is if he preps it in advance at his own pace, getting the stuff that he wants. So, theoretically and obviously in practice, there is no argument with, that is the way to do it. But how do you find then? Because obviously we do our motor trade mentors, and I sometimes say to the people, because I think when people are starting out new, they over prep the cars. They, if they're selling cheap cars, say like under £5,000, they'll make the car perfect, and then there's no profit left, and people aren't expecting a perfect car. So I'll say in that scenario, if they want a little bit of something buffed up or whatever, you can make that part of your negotiation. But how do you negotiate on prices at all? You're Mr. Wheeler Dealer, so I feel like you love to have a bit of a deal and get a deal done.
Of course, everyone that walks through the door wants to get some money off a car. It's surprising, actually, the amount of customers we do have. And I'm going to say this genuinely, because the cars are so good, our cars and vans present themselves so well, it surprises us the amount of people that don't ask for money off. They are very happy with what they're buying. And I will argue with somebody. This is another point, Joe, and this is the point about doing the preparation first. If a customer walks in and he wants to negotiate a price on a car, there has to be a reason. I'm not a charity. It doesn't say Mike Brewer's Charity Services above the door. We are a business. So when that customer walks in, if they can give me a reason why I should give you money off the car, and we'll talk about it. But if I give them no reason to do that, then they don't get a discount, do they? Because I've done all the preparation in advance. The car is immaculate. The vehicle is ready to go. It's got a year's MOT on, 11 and a half months MOT on it. It's got half a tank of fuel. All the headlights are working. It's got new tyres on it, new back box or whatever it needed. It was done. So it's sitting there. And I will say to that customer, find a reason for me to give you money off. Walk in the office and tell me, because of this, I need money off because of this. And we'll talk about it. We'll talk about how much money I give you off. If not, I'll be honest with you, and I don't want to be brutal with customers, but I've said it and I'll say it today. I'll begin to work in a minute and I'll say it 20 times a day. It doesn't matter to me if you don't buy the car off me. Please go, if you want, go and find the same vehicle elsewhere. It doesn't matter, because as soon as you go, I'm going to sell it to somebody else. There's always another person that you turned up to see this vehicle because it's attractive. So somebody else is going to find this vehicle attractive. If you don't want it, feel free to, I'm not forcing you to buy it, feel free to go and buy the same vehicle somewhere else. Because that's all you can find. You can't find any better. You can find the same, but you won't find any better than this. This is as good as it gets. I often have that argument with a customer. But, where deals are to be made with customers is with part exchange. You can give them a little bit more for their part exchange if we think we can go again and we can retail it, or it's got a trade profit in the part exchange. Or, a customer genuinely, they've turned up and I'm a softie. They got three snotty kids around them and they're talking about going on holiday down to Devon, and it would be nice if they could have a couple of £100 off just to make it a little bit better for them. Then, of course, I'm a sucker for a doe eye, and I will inevitably. Some of my staff look at me and go, "You're too good. You're too nice." To these people. But at the end of the day, as I say, I like people and I like making people happy. I will plead with them. I will say, look, if I do this for you, go home, take one of my mugs, take one of my free mugs, go home, make yourself a cup of tea and spend 10 minutes just writing me a review online and tell people what you think of the experience. And you think about it, for us, if somebody said to me, would you give £100 for a positive review? Of course I would. Anyone would. So to give them a £5 mug and a tea bag and get them to write you a review is worth £100 to me, easily. Because my business thrives off the reviews.
I've started giving gift packs away very recently, and I've got 100% hit rate on reviews. 100%. Normally I can get them, but 100%. They're costing me like maybe 10, 12 quid. Yeah, and it's got a little barcode on the front of it. A company messaged me about doing it, and I thought I'll give it a go. Yeah, 100% hit rate. I've had a review off every single one.
If we've got car dealers out there listening to this and they're not doing this practice, just have another little practice in your head. Have a member of staff or do a something on your phone. You can talk to your phone these days and tell it to set you a reminder, and just give the customer a ring in a week's time. I know it's terrifying. For a car dealer, it's terrifying to ring your customer in a week's time and say, how's the car? In case they say it's a piece of crap. And it's terrifying. But it's not a piece of crap. You deal with it. Deal with any problems you've got. But phone the customer up and say, how's the car? Is there? I noticed you haven't left me a review. Is there? My business is going to succeed. I'm paying staff on my reviews. So please spend 5 minutes and write me a review. I'll tell you what, you do that, the next year I'll give you a free MOT. Just something. It doesn't matter what you offer. Just give them something, because the review is worth more money to you than anything else, I promise.
Yeah. I've had that. People turn up and say, I'm here because of the reviews. Yeah, I was looking for somewhere local, read your reviews, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I think we've all had that. And I'm going to take a leaf out of James Baggett of the Car Dealer magazine. He's started with his sending out mugs with a tea bag in it, exactly like you said, Mike, and saying, can you leave us a review? So I'm going to start doing that, just posting them out. Because he said if it costs him 10, 20 quid or whatever it costs us with the postage, like you say, it's well worth it. And I've had a bit of an epiphany while talking to you. You're saying about prepping the cars right, so they're 100%, and there's something nagging in the back of my head that I still want something to be able to negotiate with. But talking to you, saying, and I've done exactly the same, saying, if you don't want the car, don't worry about it. It's not a problem. Someone will buy it. It might not be for you, but it'll be for someone else. And there's no problem for me. Like you say, I don't need to make the sale. It's kind of a backwards way to think, but in reality, you don't, and you don't want the wrong customer. But when I have prepped them, and that car is the best one about, and like your cars at One Automotive, if you've really prepped it the best, and they say, well, I'm going to look at another one, I'll say, great, no worries. Well, we'll speak to you tomorrow, because I'm fairly confident that it won't be as good. And sometimes, especially when they tell you the area they're going to go and look at it, you might know the garage maybe, and you're like, no problem, let us know how it goes, and if you're still interested, give us a shout. And you can almost guarantee they'll phone back the next day begging to buy it at your asking price.
Joe, change your business that way round. Trust me. And even, guys, I know this is going to sound really alien to you, but I've done this. I've done it several times, and it amazes the business that I've done it with. I've even had customers. I had a lady come in to buy a Qashqai. We had a Qashqai in, and she came in to buy it, and the only decision why she wasn't taking it was colour. Mine was silver, and she'd seen a blue one at Nissan that was exactly the same miles, exactly the same car, exactly the same price. So she was choosing the blue one, which genuinely I would have chosen the blue one over my silver one. It was just down to colour. But she said, I love the experience of buying the car from you. I went to the Nissan dealer and I didn't get the experience that I'm getting here at One Automatic. I like the experience I'm getting here. So I said to her, so you like what you're getting here, but you want the other car? She said, yes. I said, let's jump in your car. So I put her in her car. I drove her down to the Nissan dealer and I sold her the blue car on the Nissan dealer's forecourt. I went in, asked for his keys with my jacket on, and he went, what for? I said, just give me the keys, I'm going to sell the car for you. And I went out and I sold them their car on their forecourt in my branded wear, because I wanted her to have that experience. She had the Brewer experience, but she had it at the Nissan dealership, and the Nissan, all the salesmen, all the staff, the secretary, the front of house, the mechanics, everyone standing at the window, gawping outside going, Jesus, what's he doing? That for me meant so much. And I'll tell you why it meant so much. Not only, I've done this a few times, by the way, not only did she get the car that she wanted, she went away and she told every single member of her family what happened. They told all their friends down the pub, and I guarantee I probably sold 5 cars off the back of that.
It's how you make people feel, and I think, Joe, what you're saying here, and I've been guilty of it as well, we'll just get them advertised, we'll sell them. Like you say, when they're all prepped, you haven't got that tension anymore with the customer, and it's such a nicer process, and then the customer goes away a million times more happier.
I was going to say, Joe has got, looking at Joe's car site and Joe's stock, Joe typically has got a tyre kicking car site. That's how I describe it. You know, people are going to come in, see a Freelander 2 marked up for £5,000, and they're going to run up to it, kick the tyres, and say, "I'll give you £4,500 for that, mate." That is your car site, with the greatest respect, is that kind of business. And you feel, well, I'll give 2,500 quid for an auction. I'll nick a couple of grand out of this. I'll get this one out the door. That's how you're making your business, and that's how you're working. However, if you'd put your prep into the car up front, and that customer walked into the car site, kicked the tyres, and said, "I'll give you £4,500," you could ask the question for once and go, "Why? Why? Why should I give you it for £4,500? Go and here's the keys. Go and start it up. Go and walk around it. Go and look at look at everything. Go and study the car. Go backwards, forwards, study it. Lay underneath it, and tell me why I should give you it for £4,500. Come into my office with a reason, and we'll discuss it. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Why would you let 500 walk out the door?
If you're not doing that at the moment, it requires you to stop for a minute, stop for a few weeks and get all your ducks in a row, which I did this month. And a couple of my cars, the people just come up and it's gone straight out the door. And it's been so nice not to have 2 visits for starters. You don't want to have 2 visits, ideally, do you? And you know, the phone's been ringing off the hook for them.
I think that's the way that I run my businesses. I'm not saying it's right for everyone, but I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned. Hopefully Joe's had a little bit of smoke coming out the top of his head at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
And why he's going, well, that's the way I should do it.
It's definitely reinforced it for me as a one-man band as well. Makes my life easier as well. And I'm definitely going to go that route, I think, going forwards.
There's something else I say to the staff, and I'll say it to the car trade who's listening to this. The motor trade is a very flowing business. So 1 month you're up and you're selling, whatever, you're selling your stock's worth of cars. And the next month it's quiet, and then the next month it's up again. And it's very hard to judge, the times of the year when you're going to be kicking them out the door or when you're going to be staring at them. That's very, very difficult, and that is a problem for all of us car dealers. But there is something that I say to all my staff, and they all say that that's brilliant. I always say to them, embrace the quiet. When it's quiet, just embrace the quiet, because the quiet is your chance to get on top of absolutely everything. This is your moment now to just get everything you can. And I'm not only talking about preparation of cars and running through the cars again, checking batteries, tyre pressures, everything. Just run through them all again, but the car site as well. Just, it's your chance to get rid of the cobwebs that have gathered in this corner. Pull the weeds out the front of the car site. Embrace the quiet. Don't sit there on your phone looking at your Facebook and your YouTube follows, Joe. Don't do that. Get out there. Get out there and make the business the best it can possibly be, because what will happen is the phone will start ringing and then it goes manic. We've all been there. It goes manic for a couple of weeks. You sell, 30 cars or 20 cars in 2 weeks, and you can't believe it's just been, but you can only have got through that if you've embraced the quiet before it and prepared everything. The car site, you get yourself mentally prepared, get everything ready for when all your paperwork lined up, go through your drawers and sort your MOTs out and your V5s out. I do it all. I make sure that everything is ready. So when they come, we're ready to go.
I love how enthusiastic you still are for the trade after all this, and you're still so hands-on. I don't think I realised quite how hands-on you still are, to be fair.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love the trade. The motor trade has given me such an amazing life. My whole career has been built off the back of the motor trade, and I've had a very successful, and still have a very successful media career off the back of it. And I can only thank cars, the motor trade, for that. That's what's given me the life I've got, and I'm very thankful to it. And that's why I'm happy to do things like this, the used car awards, talk to as many traders as possible. I'm constantly trying to be the voice of reason to us car dealers to make us better, to make the world see us as better people.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same, because I feel like, obviously, we all know we get like a hard rap. I don't know why it is that car dealers have got such a bad reputation, because I've said it 100 times over. I think the general consumer should love us. We do so much work, and I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but you seeing how enthusiastic you still are about the motor trade. I think we all are. All four of us here love the motor trade, and I know that for a fact because sometimes I'll look at the books and I'll look at how things are going, and you'll have a week. You get that period of run of nothing but warranty phone calls, and you think, why am I doing this? And I'll talk to people and I say, I could probably earn more if I was working for someone else. I know I'm good at this, but and then so I said, but do you enjoy it? It's like, yeah, I love it. So like, right, then you think, right, I love it, so let's figure out how we're going to make it that bit better. And we can sort it out. I don't know what it is, why we love it so much, but clearly we all do.
Some people think maybe it's the thrill of the deal, but I don't think that. I think we're nice people. Every car dealer I know and I meet and I'm around, when I do the awards at the end of the year, I've got 1,000 of them gathered in their black ties in a room, most of them drunk, but they're all really good people. And I feel that the car trade is a very passion-driven business. And the passion, I think, first and foremost, comes from the love of cars. We all like to have a nice car, and we all like to see and be around a nice car. And I think, that's what certainly ticks my box. I like to see, whether it's a Mark V Ford Fiesta that's beautifully presented, I'll get excited over that. I will get excited over that car as much as I would do a McLaren, 570. I'll be just as excited over that Fiesta. In fact, I did it just a couple of weeks ago. I went out in a 1.2 Corsa left-hand drive, had air conditioning, and I got to tell you, you had to can open me out that car. I didn't want to leave it. It was just the most amazing experience. It was so engaging, so much fun for a little cheapie, and it's that, and I think car traders, the reason why Joe loves it, David, Chops, Mike Brewer love what we do is we just love cars and we love servicing people and making people happy.
I'd say the same thing, Mike. I'm relatively new to the car trade, and I'm yet to meet these mythical car dealers that have sketchy MOTs and rip everybody off. Everybody I've met has been the loveliest people that have just wanted to, like say, just put a good product out the door and look after people. And I don't believe that all of us popping up on YouTube are the exception out there, that just because we've decided to put ourselves online, we're the exception. I think we're the majority. I think there's a tiny proportion out there that, like I say, I've never actually met one yet. I'm sure you may well have, Mike, but I've never met one yet. They're all like Dave and Joe and yourself. They just want to put good products out the door and build good businesses.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just going to say, Mike, going back to what you're saying about this, getting a better reputation out there for car dealers, because basically what James is saying, one of the comments I always seem to get, I'll go through a video and I'll explain all the costs, and I did one just the other day. It was our lovely supercharged XKR. The guy had seen the video where I'd bought it at auction, so he knew how much I paid at the hammer price, and that was about £5,000 adrift from the final car. So I sat down and I explained how I'd actually walk away with about £1,000 net out of that, because we'd done a new head unit that needed, we'd done a full service including all the spark plugs at whatever that was, 100, and it explained all the VAT and everything else. And the one comment I always seem to get is, I don't like car dealers, but I'd buy a car from you, or something along those lines. I usually don't like car dealers, but I wish they were all like you. And I just think, I haven't done anything special. I really haven't. And I haven't ever really gone over and above and beyond. I've done what's required, and that's that. And that's what we all do. It's bizarre that there's this feeling.
Do you not think it's down to people's understanding of cars, though? It's that they think car dealers are dodgy because their car goes wrong, or because something isn't covered by warranty because it wasn't a fault at point of sale. And it's fair to say, on the age and the mileage of that vehicle, that that's maintenance. They've got to pay for that to be fixed. Do you think that's where the dodgy car dealer thing comes in? It's a misunderstanding of what a fault with the vehicle actually is.
I think it's just such an emotional object for people.
Yeah, and it's the second most expensive purchase usually after a house. It becomes a big thing in their lives, and people will inevitably think that they've been taken for a ride. That's the bit, is what Joe just said when he gets these comments of people saying, I don't like car dealers, but I buy a car from you. It's the bit that really irks me and makes my piss boil, is I don't like car dealers. Well, why? Why don't you like car dealers? Is it because you watched EastEnders and you see Frank Butcher sell dodgy cars? Or is it because you watched Minder back in the day with George Cole? Is it that that makes you think that car, or Del Boy, you know, is it that's selling a dodgy Cortina? Is it that makes you think that car dealers are dodgy? Because I don't, as I say, I don't know any. I don't think I've run into one for the past 30 years. I just don't know them. And I do know they exist, you know, but they are the ones that will make a Channel 4 documentary about, you know, I don't know, drug line gangs that are running, you know, drugs up and down the country, and they happen to own a car dealership. But that's it. They are drug dealers first and foremost, not car dealers. So yeah, I don't know any dodgy car dealers that set about going to buy a piece of crap, doing nothing to it, and happy to sell a customer a piece of crap. I don't know anyone who does that. I was going to say the other thing, Joe, about your videos is I love the honesty that you're telling people that I'm paying $5,000 for this and I'll retail it at $8,000. I think that is opening the eyes up, and this is why people trust you. I think that is opening the eyes up of the motor trade and letting people know, because also what you're telling them is, yeah, I paid $5,000. It's going to cost me 350 quid to market it, £100 to get a salesman to sell it. It's going to cost £400 preparation. Now I'm going to follow Mike and I'm going to do my all my preparation up front as well. So it's likely to cost me 500 quid, not 400 quid, because I might put 2 tyres on it just to get it out the door quicker. And then I've got to pay my new increased, whatchamacallit, that the government did yesterday. Yeah, I've got to pay that. Yeah, PAYE, I've got to pay that. I've also got to pay for my lights, my rent, my rates, I've got to pay VAT on the deal, and I've got somewhere in there, I've got to pay myself. Somewhere in there, hopefully there's enough to pay myself.
Don't forget, Mike, you haven't paid the tax yet.
Exactly, and you've got to pay your tax, your corporation tax at the end of the year. So somewhere out of there might be £800, like that £3,000, £800. That's actually the money that I can use to invest in my business to make it better for the future. You know, there might be 800 quid in there. And that's the bit that you are telling people and getting it out there. And that's the bit that I love. And I often tell my customers, they come in and go, well, what do you pay for it? You know, you're selling that car, that Transit out there for 29 grand. How much did you pay for it? I'm quite happy to sit there and say to them, I paid £1. Give £1 for it. What's that got to do with you? It's got nothing to do with you. I paid for it. But you know, I'm a business. This is a business. It doesn't, as I say, it doesn't say Mike Brewer's charitable services. You're not coming in here. I'm not giving you something for free. You either want my vehicle or you don't want my vehicle. But the reason you're here is because you want my vehicle. So just
I've said to customer before, I've said, you don't want me to have a small margin in this car. You're trying to negotiate with me. You don't want me to have a small margin because you want me, the dealer, that when you ring up and say you've got a problem with the car, say, don't worry, get it in the garage. Let's get it fixed. Because if you whittle me down to a tiny margin, I'm going to be the dealer that ignores that phone call or says, oh no, that's really wear and tear or didn't exist at the point of sale. So you don't want me to have a tiny margin.
And we are entitled, as I say, we are entitled to make a living. It's not a crime in this country to make a living. That's how we survive, people. This is how we pay our bills and, you know, pay for our personal lives and put food on the table for our families, or go to Spain. You know, this is how we do it. We are entitled to do it. So please don't think we're criminals. We're just trying to do a service, get you the car of your dreams. Hopefully you'll be happy. We'll all be happy. The bills get paid, and we might go to Benidorm for a week.
Yeah.
It's funny because most of these people making these comments, I think, are going into businesses where their markups are 300%, 400%, 500%, and they're working for a company like that, taking their salary home the end of the day, then hopping on our computer going, "You made 800 quid out. That's outrageous."
Yeah, but they were commenting on an iPhone that made an £800 margin, and it was made in China by children or something. You know.
Exactly. That's exactly right. You know, I went and got me went and sat in the dentist the other day. I sat in the chair. He looked in my mouth, shone a light, and he went, yeah, great, fantastic. I went, oh, brilliant. Anything need doing? He went, no, really good. Your hygiene's great. I went, fantastic. Rinse my mouth out. I was in there, 7 minutes? Walked back down the stairs, went to the till. I said, she went, never appointment. I said, yeah, he said in 6 months' time. She went, okay, that's at £62, please. And I'm like, for what? What happened? what happens there? What was the 62 quid for? What happens? And yet that dentist will not get. Nobody's going to go into that dentist going, I'm going to see my dodgy dentist today. He's going to rip me off. I'm coming in here. That dodgy dentist is going to. I have to go and see me dodgy dentist because he's going to take me for a ride. He's going to kick the tyres on me teeth and he's going to try and rip me off. Nobody ever says that about a dentist or any other industry, but they will about us.
My teeth tingled a month later. It was definitely down to him, so I want all my money back.
Yeah, I got foot ache later on. It's only happened since I had my tooth done.
Yeah,
that's yeah. There we are. I don't know how busy you are, Mike. We normally rattle on for about 90 minutes, but I don't know if you need to get back to one.
Mate, listen, I'm sitting here talking to my brethren, and I'm having the time of my life. Other than the really awkward delay that's happening between us all, which we are trying to get on top of. It does feel like it's Eurovision Song Contest judges time, but no, I'm absolutely delighted to be here. If you've got any other questions for me about anything else, feel free to shoot away.
I want to ask you something, mate.
Oh, Dave,
sorry, yeah, James. Yeah. When you first started, who did you look up to as a trick? Like who inspired you to do it? Or do you think you were just born to do this?
Yeah, just most definitely my dad. My dad was a very well-known car customizer back in the 1970s. He'd done a few famous cars that made the cover of Hot Rod magazines. I watched my dad work so hard for our family and give our family the best lives we could possibly have. And I remember on a few occasions where I'd seen my dad go and buy, say, a very new Mark III Escort, that was, been in a fire, the engine was burnt out. And my dad down the garage at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, with me taking a cup of tea out to him, in the dead of the winter, freezing cold at night, while he's removing the engine, repainting the engine bay, rebuilding the engine. And that was to sell it, to put food on the table for his family. And I remember seeing all that when I was a kid growing up. And I also remember being around my dad at car shows and how he was loved by people that would pat him on the back. And, nobody had a selfie camera those days, but I'm pretty sure if they did, they would have asked for a picture with my dad, Roger, because he was just a proper, nice, good bloke. He still is just a real proper, amazing, good bloke. I always wanted to be him. I always wanted to be my dad and just be the best version of myself that I could possibly be. And he sat me down when I was, very first. I got my scooter at 15, illegally drove a little Vespa around at 15 until I was old enough to get my provisional at 16. My mum and dad say, when you got your provisional license, you simply disappeared because I just off on my little 50. But I remember my dad sitting me down at 16 years of age on the staircase of our house in Sutton. And there's me being a cheeky boy about town, couple of quid in his pocket, working down the market stalls, buying and selling the odd thing. And, I could have gone one or two ways. I could have been this street urchin who was, one way, or I could have been something else. And my dad just sat me down on the staircase one day and he said, look, son, you're at a crossroads at your life. I feel that you're really bright, you're very clever and you're very bright. And I'm the baby of six, by the way, six elder, I'm the 5 elder brothers and sisters. And my dad said, I'll just give you my advice is always do the right thing, never ever do the wrong thing. You will get offered the wrong thing, never do it. Just do the right thing and you'll be okay, son. And I've stuck by that ethos all my life in terms of my television career, cars, commitment, people, relationships. I've always just done the right thing and I've never done the wrong thing, and it's paid its way throughout its life. It was my dad basically who's inspired me to be the person that I am and to do what I'm doing, and I still would can't hold a candle to him really. He's still the greatest man I know.
Brilliant.
Beautiful.
I had a couple of questions. I don't know if you'll be able to answer one of them. It is with the Wheeler Dealer series. Obviously, you sell the cars off to consumers. Have you? I mean, you might not have to mention the car, but you might as well. Have you ever had like a real nightmare purchaser of a Wheeler Dealer vehicle?
Yes, there was one on just not the last series, the series before, I do believe, and it was It was a Fiat Coupe Turbo. Again, it's one of those things that as wheeler dealer, as the show will open itself up to all kinds of criticism because it gets a lot of jealousy. People get jealous of me because I'm this normal guy on TV and have made a success of my life. And so they're sitting at home on their sofa, pissed off that it's not them, living in California, flying off around the world, buying and selling classic cars. They get pissed off and they reach to the internet and say it. We did sell a car that we got through the system really quickly. We did put a lot of power upgrades on it.
I remember it, yeah.
After it left the show, we sold it for literally what it owed, or less than what it owed. I think we probably dumped 10 grand into it and sold it for 6. That's the nature of television. The person that bought the car then took it to a mechanic to have some work done to it. And of course, this mechanic then wants to tear wheeler dealers apart because, of course, he does. He wants to tear the show apart and tear the work apart that we done. And of course, the innocent customer is just a piggy in the middle who's being advised by somebody, you bought this, they've done that wrong, this is shit, should never have done that, this is, they knackered this up or whatever. And nothing was wrong with it. The car was MOT'd and, I've sold over 500 cars on my TV show and we've never had one come back. There was nothing wrong with the car. It's just that you're going to face a nightmare because somebody advising this mechanic who's jealous of the show, can't stand me, can't stand what we do, because we're not real mechanics, we're TV mechanics, we're not really in the workshop like he is. And of course he's going to slag us off. So ultimately that ended up with us buying the car back from the customer and I scrapped it. I took the decision. This guy's been very vocal about it online. He's been very vocal and it is quite damaging to the brand. And the brand is bigger than this one, incident. So I sent it to a crusher. And
Alfa Romeo and Fiat buyers of older ones are a special breed, mate, though, aren't they? They really are a special breed.
Yeah, I mean, they are. It's just because, there's always somebody, especially in wheeler dealers, there's always somebody that knows the job better than you. I sit on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram when the show's going out live. And I get bombarded with people going, oh, fucking shit, you didn't know what you're doing there. God, he's got clean hands. How did he do that with clean hands? And I'm sick to that. I go, well, we have a sink. We have a sink in the workshop. There's a bar of soap. It's not that bloody hard, And when you see him take something off, it could be 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes time before you see something go on. Elvis isn't going to, or Ed or Ant is going to stand around with grease on their hands. If somebody's bought them a cup of tea and a biscuit, they're going to go over to the sink, wash their hands, drink a cup of tea and a biscuit, and then when the camera's ready to go again, they've got clean hands. And that's controversy, to people out there who don't really do the work, who's got clean hands. It's because we've got a bloody sink and we wash our hands.
we get exactly the same.
The show opens itself up to all kinds of criticism, but look, it's still going after 21 years, and I'm just about to do another big run of it, and it's still going. And if it was broken and there was something wrong with it, it wouldn't be commissioned by the network. But it's the biggest car show on the planet. It has over 200 million viewers globally around the world, and it's still going after 21 years. So I gather I will listen to Dave sitting, not this Dave, I will listen to Dave sitting on his sofa in Barnstable, and I will take your criticism. But at the end of the day, Dave, when your show comes out, let me see it first, eh?
Yeah.
And then maybe I can critique yours.
I mean, without fangirling, I'm sat here because of it. We're the dealers. I started flipping cars at home and, on the side of my corporate job to a point where that's all I thought about, playing with cars, getting home, tinkering, fixing them up. I'm sitting in board meetings, totally zoning out because all I was thinking about is I want to get back and do the sill on that MGB. I know, Dave, you were saying a similar thing when we were chatting about Mike coming on. You're saying the same thing. He want to get you into it.
You got me into it, Mike. Deals on Wheels. Coming home from
I
college.
remember Deals on Wheels, yeah.
Yeah, coming home from college and you'd bought that red Corsa and it was all faded. Your machine polished your back red and you went to the auction. I thought, oh God, I would just love to do that. It was always at the back of my mind. It's why I got into car dealing. So thank you.
I'm known for rattle cannon a bit now, Mike, and I remember the episode that sticks with me a lot was I just remember Ed on a Capri and you sprayed the front two wings, and they
I
just
remember
came
that.
out a completely different blue, didn't they? And I was there going, no, what are you going to do? How are you going to get out of that motor now? And this young girl comes along and buys it, and I think you took a hit
Oh
on
yeah,
it.
I remember
And I
that.
just, because it just, it happens there. I do it all the time. I get a rattle can on, I start working away, and it's like, oh, I'm going to have to fade that into the other door there, and it's just gone completely Pete Tong. Now it's obviously pressure on me to get it right. But
On that Capri, I can remember because that was like literally the first series, I do believe, or second series. We were still learning. We were the first car flipping show on the planet, so we were still learning what we were doing. We're making it up as we was going along. And I remember Ed rattle canning that wing, and the producers directing, it needs to be done today. It needs to be done now. It needs to be done now. It had to be done. And Ed's looking at me going, it's 95 degrees outside, and as it leaves the can, it's drying. As it leaves the can, the paint, before it hits the wing. And he says the paint is dry before it hits the wing. So he's over painting it, basically. So that's why it looks such a disaster. But I'll tell you what was really funny. In sort of honour to that, people often bring that up, and they have done for the last 20 years. In honour of that, about 2 series ago, I don't know if you remember, if you ever watched it, but I actually rattle canned just for the cheek of it, because I thought there's no other car dealer, no other car show on the planet would have the cheek to do this, and nobody will believe that we would do this. I rattle canned a whole Rolls Royce Silver Spirit.
yeah, I
don't
do
know if you've
remember
seen
that. I do remember that. Yes, I do. Yeah. Didn't you tape out a room? You sheeted out a whole room, didn't you?
Yeah, we built a room. We got some gold and brown rattle cans, and me and Elvis stood there. We had like 24 tins of this. We rattle can this Rolls Royce because I'm thinking, who on earth would rattle can? Nobody's going to do it. And when I mention it, because I produce the shows as well, when I'm saying to my team, I'm going, we're going to rattle can this car. Everyone's looking at me like I'm an idiot. And I go, no, who else would do that? Nobody would do it. And everyone's going to go, you're nuts. You can't do that to a Rolls Royce. And go, but we can. You can do it to a Rolls Royce. And we did.
Mike, I've got a Firebird near it. I've sprayed with a garden fence sprayer. A Pontiac Firebird I sprayed with a garden fence sprayer because my compressor went down.
Listen, I've seen Joe buy some cars that have been painted by A-Pipe.
Yeah.
That's a fair assessment.
My other question, a bit more serious question, was I deal in the lower end of the market, sub 10, sometimes even sub 5k, and I'm starting to see cars coming through 10 years old with headlights that are like 1,200 quid for a replacement headlight and radars 1,500 quid. And I've been saying for a little while on the channel, I don't know what's going to happen with that lower end market, because with the consumer rights side of things and margins on those being a couple of grand at best before you start repairing them, do you think it's going to be feasible for cars of that price to be sold through dealers going forwards? Because we're already seeing the sort of 2k cars aren't possible anymore, really, with the liability you've got and the amount of prep they need. So do you think that market will exist going forwards? Or will it all be private sellers?
No, I don't. And this is where, if you're thinking about 10 years ago, that's where cars started to become built by manufacturers with a lot more recyclable bits. They start to become disposable cars from about 10 years ago up to today. What is it now? A modern car today is like 90% recyclable, isn't it? Where, back then they were probably 60, 70% recyclable. But that's where you start to see cars start to become a disposable item. They start to become seen by the manufacturers as that kind of thing. Because, as you say, who wants to buy a £2,000 car that you got to put a £1,000 headlight in? It's not feasible for us as car dealers to make a living out of that, make a margin out of it. So those cars will, I think, very quickly disappear. And we're already seeing it in the trade. Some of the stuff that I take in part exchange, I'll offer out to the trade. There was a Citroen C3, I think, the other day, it was a 2008 the other day, and almost everyone in the trade that come to kick the tyres it's got the PureTech engine. No, not for me, and it's a bit like the old Rover K series, it's like, no, don't go near it. You're starting to see the trade now refusing cars because they've become uneconomical to repair. And that's where, a 2008 like the one I had that booked at 2,400 quid will be a 500 quid bag of bolts in Facebook Marketplace. That's where they're going to end up. I do believe that the trade is changing in those older cars.
Thanks, Mike. I got a 2008 to valet this morning.
Just
It's
dispose
killed
of
my
it.
sale completely.
Good luck.
Mike Brewer's killed
Get
my
it
sale
sold, get it sold
completely. I'm
quick.
stuffed.
Get it sold quickly.
James, I have got. I think I can bring up that picture you sent me.
Is it the point where Mike's career changed when I gave him advice? Is it that picture?
Yeah, I think so. If I can find it, here we are.
I think we've got the point. Everything started turning well for Mike Brewer. Yeah, when he asked me a little bit of advice. Yeah, there it is. He's like, James, how do I get on in this trade? Like,
Look at
I
that.
gave him a few tips and off he went.
Well, I'll be back there at the Classic Motor Show. If this podcast hasn't already gone out, it's on the weekend of the 13th of November at the NEC in Birmingham, and it's always a highlight of the year for me. It's an amazing show, and I remember that moment very well.
We did the old arm round hug thing, but my father-in-law was taking the pictures, and the only one he got was as I was walking away. Bless him.
It's nice to see you put my date of birth up there just to remind me as well. It's very good.
1924.
Yeah,
Don't worry,
that
James.
was when I had an office job, and I just kept, like I say, just wanted to tinker with cars all the time.
Well, not to worry, James, because obviously Mike will be at the Car Dealer Awards. We're all going to be there, Mike.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. This year, more than ever, me and James Baggett, we partnered with the awards. I think it's our 12th year now. And I will do you want to know where the awards come from?
Please do.
12 years ago, I'm sitting in the car with my wife, driving back from a meeting. Michelle, she is the real wheeler dealer. And we're coming back from a meeting, and I had somebody in the motor trade that I have a business relationship with, rung me up and said they're going to pull a product, one of our products that we were selling, out of the dealerships, and they don't want to sell it anymore. But this was a profitable product that they were selling for us. And I asked the question, why would they do that? Why would you give up on profit? And the answer is because I'd gone back into the motor trade with Mike Brewer Motors. They said, how dare he go into the motor trade with Mike Brewer Motors? Who does he think he is? So I'm like scratching my head in the car going, why would somebody be offended that I'm, opening up a car dealership? They said that I'm taking bread off of their plate by opening up a dealership in one of their regions, which was in Sheffield. And I said, well, it's the most stupid thought process ever, because if it wasn't me, somebody else would be on the site, it'd be another dealer. So just because it's me, it makes no difference at all. Anyway, the bottom line was, after that phone call, I put the phone down, me and my wife were on the M1 driving south. And I said, what is it? Why do people just hate me for trying to succeed and trying to do things for the good, the good for us and our family, and create wealth and business and create jobs? Why do people hate me for that so much? And Michelle said, they're just jealous. She said, but you can stop them being jealous. And I said, how? And she said, give them an award. I said, what? She said,
Like it.
why don't you just give them an award? All these car dealers that hate you, I bet you they'd love to shake your hand and smile if you give them a trophy to put on their office wall. And I went, what a bloody brilliant idea. That's not a daft idea. So we come back home in the afternoon, and I wrote a one-page business proposal, which was the Wheeler Dealer Awards. And that's what we wrote out, the Wheeler Dealer Awards. And I thought, right, who do I know that can put a Wheeler Dealer Awards together? James Baggett. So I got hold of James, and I said, I've got this great idea for an award ceremony. And James went, yeah, I'll have some of that. Let's do it together. So the first year it was the Wheeler Dealer Awards. We realised after year one that companies like Volkswagen or Audi don't want to be associated with Wheeler Dealer, Fred in the shed. So it changed very quickly into year two for the Car Dealer Awards, the Used Car Awards, sorry. It went Car Dealer Awards and then Used Car Awards. And it's now been running, I think this is our 12th year. It's an amazing sellout event every year. I'm celebrating this year. I'm celebrating the good of the motor trade and the good that we do in the motor trade. And I can't wait to have you there in the audience. I can pay special attention to you. But it's an amazing evening, and it celebrates everything that's good about what we do. And you'll see the shining lights of the people in the room. And, that room is full of just people that I aspire to, The car dealers that jump out of aeroplanes and walk the length of Britain, on their days off to raise money for their local charities. The car dealers that go and sponsor, like I do, go and sponsor their local hospice or local football team or whatever it is. The car dealers that always give back to their communities and work so hard at achieving their success. And that room is packed with them, and it's such an amazing evening. I can't wait for it. I can't wait for you to be there, guys.
No,
looking forward to it. Looking forward to it.
Be there either.
Hopefully we won't get too drunk.
James will let us all down and
no, get drunk. That's the point. It is a Christmas party.
Mike, we just got straight into talking. I really wanted to come on to this. I just had this idea that you do so many of these podcasts and you do so much. You're so busy. I mean, literally, I was just watching you on it looked like the World Trade Summit in Turkey or something. And it was giving me secondhand anxiety just seeing you sat up on stage there talking to everyone. I really wanted to come on and say, Mike, what do you want to talk about? Because you must come on and everyone asks you all these questions. I'm sure we've discussed a lot of what you want to talk about, which is just promoting the car trade. But is there anything, that you don't get a chance to talk about that you do want to?
Not really. I mean, look, in the context of this, I think it's really important that we spoke about the car trade and the love of the car trade and why we all do it. And what it gives to us and why we're doing this podcast. We're enthusiastic, caring, hard-working, diligent people, and that's important to share that message with your audience. But no, I mean, for me, the only thing that I would like to say to the audience is just be kinder. Be kinder to the people around you. Be kinder to people online. Just make the world a better place and be a little bit kinder. I don't want to sound like a sycophant here or a zealot. I'm just saying there's so much shit going on. People throwing bombs at each other and governments taxing us to death. There's so much shit going on. If everyone was just a little bit smilier, a little bit kinder, the world would rattle along a much better place.
I was saying this to the guys before, when we spoke about you coming on, and we get obviously a bit of grief in our social media. And I said, I don't know how Mike copes with it. I see the comments that people put on your Instagrams and your YouTube, and fair play to you. I see you go back and give as good as you get a lot of the time, which is good. I think people need to realise you can get back at them, but it's just so unnecessary. It's just so unnecessary.
Isn't it?
It's a bit. Once you open yourself up to the public, it can be a bit scary how nasty people are out there.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I do try to say to these people, and I'll say it now to these people, because there'll be comments on this. On this podcast, you'll have comments. Don't like him, can't stand him, he's a fat wanker, can't, you'll get all of that. That's inevitable. But, at the end of the day, who am I? Who is Mike Brewer? I'm a guy that fixes up cars for a living. That's who I am. I'm a guy that fixes up cars. And if that's offending you in any way, I apologise for fixing up cars for a living. But I love them. I love cars. I love the people that I work with. I love what I do. And I'm not going to stop doing it. And it doesn't matter what you say. It's my life. This is what I do. So, I'm not a rapist. I'm not a murderer. I've never done any criminality. I'm not a politician that you can, slag off online. I'm just a guy that fixes up cars. And if that irritates you, I apologise.
It shocked me when I did a video that had you in it, and it went that way. But I mean, I get it as well. But I mean, I've always been. I started off being able to tell myself, all these comments you get from people is a reflection of them, not you. What they're saying is more to do with how they're feeling than anything to do with you. But it gets on top of you. I get it. I get an onslaught, and you just we're only human. There's only so much you can do, but it's so unnecessary. I would never.
Well, I will finish this podcast and look at my phone, and yes, I'm going to see negative comments, and I wake up every day with somebody wishing death on me or my family, or rape on my wife and child, or cancer. That happens every single day from all over the world. It happens, and it's purely from a place of jealousy. I've never been abused or attacked by anyone that's doing any better than me. They're always people that are not doing as well as I am. And so it comes from pure jealousy. And, in some contexts, I get it. You're sitting there in your sad life and you switch on the TV and there's me bouncing around California in a pair of shorts in the sunshine driving a Triumph TR4. You might go, look at that wanker. Fucking, why isn't that me? I'm gonna fucking put you arsehole, I can get that. I can understand it. But I'm in the entertainment industry. I work in entertainment, and I have to make a car show that's informative and entertaining and engaging for a global audience. It's seen by over 200 million people around the world, so it has to be engaging globally. So that's why we're in all these different territories. And if that irritates somebody, as I said before, I'm sorry about that, but that's just it's really easy. You just turn over, and I won't miss you. I promise I'll never ever miss you if you just hit your thumb and turn the channel over and go and watch Murder, She Wrote with Angela Lansbury, or just put David Dickinson on, or something else. I promise you it won't hurt me. It won't hurt me at all. You can turn the channel over. It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt Discovery Channel. It doesn't hurt my sponsors, my family. It doesn't hurt anyone if you just go and watch something else. But don't waste your energy writing to me, because it goes in one ear, rattles around, and goes out the other. We simply don't care.
I think there can be a danger that when you scroll through comments, I've done it before, you scroll through and you're almost looking for that negative one, and you've ignored the sort of 8 above that gone, Chops, you're a great guy, I really appreciate what you're doing. It's very easy to do that, isn't it? Because I say that about negativity, but I must say, since having a channel, the support has just been incredible. People selling me cars, people buying me cars, people go on and make a negative comment. Before I know it, there's like 5 people in the comments having a go at them. He's not like that at all. He's not done that at all. But yeah, there is that danger with social media where you can go into and you can scroll and you almost look for the negative one, so you can have a go back and skip past saying thanks for that, mate, to the 5 or 6 people above that have said something really quite positive.
Yeah, well, look, I've got the same people have worked with me for the past 20. Same crew, same production team, same staff. I've got businesses and business partners and businesses in various different industries across the country. I know the people that know me, that are around me, and hand on heart, they wouldn't have a negative word to say against me, because they know me, they've met me, they've engaged with me, and they are the people that I rely on. They are the people that I care what their thoughts are. The people that have never met me, as in the people that have never been to my business but will go online and write me a 1-star Google review, I simply have no time for them. I don't care for them. I've got not much more to say on the matter. That's why I say just be kind. Be kind to everyone.
Yeah. And you're not alone, Mike. That's another thing to say. You're not alone. I had my 1-star review from Mark, whoever Mark was, the other day, with no context whatsoever. Haven't dealt with a Mark. Just seen something on YouTube and doesn't like me, so we'll have a negative impact on my business. It's just the way it goes. But it's probably the less said the better. But we really should let you go. It's been such a pleasure to have you on and speak with you. And again, it's a testament to your character that you will come on and speak with us and give us your time. So I do really appreciate it. And
nearly put a suit and tie on today. Jeez.
James doesn't normally shave, Mike.
I shaved today, Mike. I even shaved.
But Dave's gone to his mates who's got a recording studio where he can make sure that he's got good internet and sound. So a big thank you for everything from us, I guess.
I do feel very honoured that you've gone to these lengths to have me as your guest. I would have done it anyway. You could have been in a garden shed and I would have met you. I would have done it anyway. I'm a big fan of your work. Keep it up. Keep what you're doing going, because it really does bring a smile to my face. I think it's absolutely great content, all of you. And it's been a real honour to meet you and to be a part of this podcast. And I wish you every success, all of you.
Thanks, Mike.
So much.
Cheers,
we will
Mike.
look forward to seeing you in November. Probably looking like we've come out of a garden shed. And,
yes. But put your dancing shoes on. Yeah. Put your dancing shoes on, and I look forward to it.
Suit. Mike, the one thing we always say is, where do you want people to find you? You only got to go online, Mike, and you're everywhere. But where's the one place you want people to see? Is it One Automotive?
So One Automotive is the car and van centre that's in Warwick and Leamington Spa. Mike Brewer Motors is based in Sheffield. You can just Google that. If you want me on all forms of social media, I'm Mike Brewer on Twitter and Instagram, or Wheeler Dealer on Facebook. Come and give me a comment. Make sure it's a kind one. If it's a shit one, I'll just block and delete.
And on that note, we'll end it. Thanks so much, Mike.
Thank you very much, guys.